Others who joined the sect are full of righteousness, but I have been following evil ways for 3 generations. My grandfather is the notorious 10,000-year Lion King, my grandmother is the supreme ghost emperor of Fengdu City, my father is the lord of the demon Jade who kills without blinking an eye, and my mother is the eldest sister of the 9-tailed Sky Fox demon clan. But I can't practice and it's difficult for me to inherit my family's business. For 18 years, I have never set foot out of the Fang Mansion. There are only 2 people in the Fang Mansion, one is me and the other is my maid Jur. My sister Fang Yu often comes to see me, but I have only seen my parents twice since I was a child. They don't want and can't expose my identity. The mortal enemies of the family will not let me go just because I am an ordinary person. Until the day I came of age, I actually awakened the innate holy body. But this is a physique that is rare in a million years, but I still can't practice it. The reason is that the magic skills passed down by the Fang family are all from the Demon Palace. I shook my head and smiled bitterly. Physical fitness is related to Taoism. I guess I can only practice Taoist magic. And the only way to practice Taoist magic is to join the Taoist sect. If it were an ordinary person, going to the Taoist sect even if I am not selected, it is not a big deal. However, if my special identity is exposed, it would be a death sentence. After pondering for a long time, I finally decided to go to the Taoist sect. The Taoist priest should not suspect that the heir of the demon realm is a reborn innate holy body. So I left a letter saying that I would travel around. Half a month later, I entered a tea shop on the Guando Road and asked, "Old man, do you have anything to eat?" The old man was wrong, and his rough palms were a little embarrassed. I passed by more people and ate a lot of things. Now there are only some scones left. If it was the first few days after leaving Fang Mansion, I would not be used to hearing about this kind of food. But now it is good to have something to eat in this wilderness. The problem of being pampered in my body has long been smoothed out. Soon the shopkeeper brought up the tea and scones. I took the opportunity to ask, "Old man, how far is it from here to the Taoist gate?" "About 70 or 80 miles away." As soon as the shopkeeper finished speaking, the young man sitting at another table grinned when he heard that I was going to the Taoist sect. "Brother, are you going to participate in the selection of Taoist disciples?" I turned around and saw that the young man at the other table there was a young man about my age sitting there. He was looking at me with a smile and acting very familiar. Beside the young man in blue seemed to be his 2 companions. When they saw that the young man in blue was chatting with me, they all cast their eyes over to me. Just trying my luck, although I didn't want to have too much communication with strangers, I could hear from the young man in blue that he seemed to be going to the Taoist sect to participate in the disciple selection. Maybe we would be brothers in the future, so I couldn't act too cold. "Would you like to go together?" Facing the invitation of the young man in blue, I hesitated but finally accepted his kindness. I took the tea and scones on the table and sat down opposite him. Lu Ziying introduced herself first, then pointed to the other 2. These were Chen Nanyao and Wang Yan. I met them on the road. They were both going to the Taoist sect to participate in the disciple selection. I nodded slightly at them. Compared with Chen Nanyao and Wang Yan, who had a cold face from beginning to end, they seemed to be talking and invited him. "Brother Fang, why don't you go with us?" As the sky gradually darkened, it would be safer to walk at night with more people. Then I agreed and Lu Ziying said, "By the way, since Brother Fang is here to participate in the selection of Taoist disciples, you should understand the rules, right? I'm a little ashamed and don't understand that although I am the only male in the Fang family, I can't practice the right way of the world because of the Taoist sect. It's not that I don't know much, but it's that the elders in my family have not provided such books and even intentionally don't want me to know about them. If my sister Fang Yu hadn't occasionally complained about Daomen and these righteous sects, how would I have known about them if I didn't even know about Daomen?" Lu Ziying was embarrassed when she read the selection rules of the sect. In the following conversations with the 3 of them, I finally got some understanding of the Taoist sect. The minimum requirement for the Taoist sect to recruit disciples is mortals under the age of 18. This is not only true of Taoist sects, Confucianism, Buddhism, and even Zen sects. Such a request made me feel so happy that I had only turned 18 a few days ago, so I just met the Taoist sect's requirements for selecting disciples. Lu Ziying opened her mouth and asked Brother Fang, "Have you ever tested your physique? But if my physique is too poor, they won't want me." I frown and I know my physique. But my current character is that of a young man who came from a poor mountain village in the poor northern land. It's naturally hard to mention some things. I also felt sorry for Wang Yan, who was standing by and answered. He was so angry that he didn't even understand the Tao sect selection rules. "Where did you ask him to test his physique?" "Look, I almost forgot about this. I'm sorry, Brother Fang." Lu Ziying looked at me and apologized, "But it doesn't matter if I don't know. Anyway, this is the second choice in selecting disciples. The round is testing the physical fitness. Gradually, I started to talk more and said, seeing that Brother Lu is so confident in entering the Taoist gate, there should be no problem. Lu Ziying was silent for a moment before saying, I can't say whether Chen Nanyao and Wang Yan are really fine. The two of them have never mentioned to me what kind of physiques they have, but they are definitely not bad. Maybe they are rare physiques that can only be seen in 100 years. Maybe Ziying said that you seem to be inferior. Wang Yan smiled and said, don't think that I don't know that we are each other. Lu Ziying smiled kindly at each other, which was regarded as acknowledging Wang Yan's flattery. I listened quietly and thought of the sentence I read in the book. Birds of a feather flock together. There is a reason why these three can travel together. The four of them were taken care of on the way, and finally felt the truth. At the foot of the Daofang mountain, further up is the Daomen. At the foot of the mountain at this moment, people who came to participate in the selection of Daomen disciples have already gathered. I roughly estimated that there are at least 2,000 or 3,000 people. We followed Yiming and the Daomen direct instruction and came to a rune gate. The Daomen is heavily walled and no noise is allowed. Everyone who passes through the rebirth gate just turns around and faces the crowd. The loud voice immediately looks up at the rebirth gate. When I heard this, my brows frowned, and an ominous desire instantly lingered in my heart. I was wondering about the function of the rebirth gate when Lu Ziying behind me came forward. I had only heard of it before, but I didn't expect it to be so magnificent. How come, Ziying, do you know this rebirth gate? Wang Yan cast a curious look, and Lu Ziying nodded. In fact, a long time ago, whether it was the Daomen or the Buddhist sect, the way to know the identity was that those with high cultivation would investigate and inquire in the mansion. But this method is very easy for someone to fish in troubled waters, especially some powerful evil demons. Ordinary practitioners definitely cannot detect the truth, so several Taoist priests joined forces to build this gate of rebirth. Moreover, the gate of rebirth can not only detect identities, but can even know the age by testing Gu Linger. Those who do not meet the requirements will be eliminated directly. Wang Yan Wenyan nodded and said, I have only heard about it in the past, but I didn't expect that Taoism really built a gate of rebirth. Although Chen Nanyao didn't say anything, he also showed a look of doubt and alarm. Only I looked a little solemn. Although I am not an evil demon, I am a member of the Fang family. I don't know if there will be any accidents when passing through the gate of rebirth. But since I have come here, it is not in my nature to give up like this. Let's go together. At this time, Lu Ziying smiled and looked at several people. The four of them followed the others and stepped through the gate of rebirth. When they looked up and saw me, they realized that they had successfully passed the gate of rebirth. At the same time, a steady stream of people were eliminated. As the Taoist's instruction, Li Zhen's face turned cold. Taoist disciples, don't be presumptuous. The rebirth gate was built by several Taoist tianxis. Can you build it? He slapped the crowd with his palm. The crowd fell down in a rush. The leaders vomited blood, but fortunately Li Zhen did not kill them. Several people just fainted. Seeing this, everyone was as cold as cicadas. At this moment, a young man stood up from the eliminated crowd. Tianxi, I am over the age, but if I have an unusual physique, can I become a Taoist disciple? Unusual physique, Li Zhen glanced at the other party. The young man quickly bowed and reported to Tianxi, I asked someone to test it before I came. If nothing unexpected happens, it should be a postnatal miscarriage. Although it is not rare in 100 years, I think the aptitude is not bad. Li Zhen said, I am just a Taoist's instruction, not a Tianxi. Considering that you are not a disciple of my Taoist, let it go this time. But if you enter the door in the future, don't call me randomly. My name is Li Zhen, you can call me Senior Brother. Senior Brother taught me a lesson. The young man apologized repeatedly with a touch of joy on his face. Li Zhen continued to speak. As for the acquired inversion you mentioned, I will assume that you are. This first level is considered to be passed. Thank you, Senior Brother. The young man just bowed his hands to thank him, but Li Zhen's voice turned cold. Don't be too happy too soon. If this matter is false, I think you should know the consequences in your heart. However, if you are really acquired inversion, your achievements in the future will definitely not be bad. Since it is acquired inversion, no wonder you come here even though you are older. Lu Ziying chuckled. From your tone, it seems that you don't take acquired inversion seriously. Could it be that you have a physique that is rare in 100 years? Wang Yan showed doubts and asked questions frantically. Lu Ziying was not fooled and shook his head. A physique that is rare in 100 years is not a cabbage. The Taoist sect was established for 1,000 years and has hundreds of thousands of disciples. There are only a handful of people with qualifications that are rare in 100 years. This is Li Zhen's loud voice. After passing the first round, continue to move forward and participate in the second round of qualification test. qualification test is also the most important link in the selection of Taoist disciples. After passing this link, it is basically equivalent to becoming a Taoist disciple. The person in charge of qualification test is not Li Zhen as before, but an elder of the Taoist sect. I, the old man Yu Bing, will be responsible for determining your qualifications. In front of you is the determination stone. Everyone line up in an orderly manner and put your hands on the determination stone. If the determination stone can emit light, then you are a disciple of the Tao sect. Those who cannot pass the test will also be given some money to return home. Then, at the urging of Yu Bing, everyone began to line up and determine their qualifications in an orderly manner. The qualification determination was very fast. People were eliminated one after another, and those who were eliminated were all dejected without exception. Not having qualifications means that their path to cultivation is completely cut off. And I also found that those who passed the test, without exception, made the determination stone emit white light. Until the overage youth appeared, a red smooth appeared, attracting everyone's attention. Fishcake, who was responsible for the qualification test, also showed the same expression. The day after tomorrow, a rare event in 50 years, arrived at the stage. It's right, he said to himself, and the next second his eyes fell on the young man. What's your name, Su Feng? The young man replied respectfully. Fishcake smiled and stroked his long beard. Su Feng, are you willing to worship me as your master? Su Feng was instantly ecstatic and knelt on one knee to pay homage to the master. It's right, you wait aside first, I will take you away after I'm done. Fishcake was very satisfied with Su Feng's reaction, and then continued to handle the qualification test. Su Feng was directly accepted as a disciple by Fishcake, which also caused a lot of people to feel refreshed. Lu Xiang also looked dangerous when she saw this. This Su Feng is lucky. The Taoist elder is not the same as Dongshu himself. With this help and his talent, I think he will be able to get through the practice soon. Why are you envious? Wang Yan turned his head and looked at him. Envy is not just a sigh. Lu Xiang shrugged. If he was accepted as a disciple by the Taoist Tianxi, I would really envy him. But as far as I know, many of the Tianxi of the sect have not personally accepted disciples for 100 years, so there is no envy. It is Chen Nanyao's turn to be tested. Xiang, what qualifications do you think Nanyao has? Wang Yan looked at Chen Nanyao's back with interest. Who knows? Lu Xiang said speechlessly, you know who he is. He couldn't say a word for a long time. Even if I asked him dozens of times, he wouldn't mention it to me. When it comes to Chen Nanyao's character, Wang Yan was also at a loss for words. Chen Nanyao walked forward and skillfully carried the measuring stone on his hand. The gray measuring stone quickly responded and bloomed with a variety of colors. 5 colors. I was still wondering why the measuring stone had 5 colors when I heard Lu Xiang's exclamation, the 5 elements spirit body. Yu Bing, who was responsible for the qualification verification, also laughed with bright eyes. Since it is a 5-element spirit body that is rare in 100 years, Yu Bing's voice fell, and the people who didn't know what was going on were instantly in an uproar. Although they didn't understand what the 5-element spirit body was, the words, rare in 100 years, indeed, I heard it clearly. Su Zong was only born in the womb, but he could be favored by Yu Bing, not to mention the 5-element spirit body that is rare in 100 years. It seems that this is the dark horse of this selection. Yu Bing glanced at Chen Nan and wanted to remember him. However, he did not say that he would accept a disciple this time. The 5-element spirit body may be taken by a heavenly master. Especially the one who is also a 5-element spirit body, the mind master, might be interested in Chen Nan. Under the fiery gaze of the crowd, Chen Nan was about to walk to the other side of the crowd. Then it was Wang Yan's turn. He strode forward and pressed his hand directly on the measuring stone. A dazzling yellow light bloomed instantly. This was the Yuan Ling body, another physique that was rare in 100 years. Yu Bing took a breath and was somewhat shocked. The scene also fell into seasons because of this yellow. Red lips, yellow-green, blue-blue, and purple. Except for white light, red is the lowest, but even red qualifications are amazing enough. As for purple, it is said that there is no one in the righteous world who has the talent to make the measuring stone emit purple. Chen Nan's 5-element spirit body was shocking enough. Unexpectedly, before the heat just now dissipated, another Yuan Ling body that was no worse than the 5-element spirit body appeared. Now it is a genius that is rare in 100 years. After the silence, everyone swallowed their saliva involuntarily, and their eyes were full of leisure. Lu Xiang was stunned for half a game before she came back to her senses. Obviously, she was also a little shocked by these two people. Then she stepped forward quickly without hesitation. He directly pressed his hand on the measuring stone, and the measuring stone instantly burst into an astonishing light. It was different from Chen Nan and Wang Yan. This time the light was white, brighter than anyone else's white light, and even pierced everyone's eyes so much that they couldn't even open their eyes. What's going on? Isn't this the white light of ordinary qualifications? Why is the light so dazzling? Loneliness. Until Yu Bing saw the situation at this moment, the scene was shocked. Lu Xiang looked at Yu Bing with a dark face. Yu Bing also knew that he had something to do with him. Then he explained that the lonely spirit body was just a joke among cultivators. The real name of this physique is actually called the pure yang spirit body. The reason why it is called the lonely spirit body is that it is not a problem for this pure yang spirit body to maintain good cultivation. But if it is broken in the body, the pure yang is not much better than the ordinary physique. Lu Xiang almost cried when she heard it. You only need to say half of it. Why did you explain it so clearly? The name of the pure yang spirit body sounds very intimidating, but if the second half of the explanation is added, to be honest, few people will envy it. I was stunned for a while and then laughed. I finally understood why Lu Xiang said that she was more special. If we consider the aptitude, Lu Xiang is higher than Chen Nanyao and Wang Yan, and much higher. However, the limitation of the pure yang spirit body also destined Lu Xiang's future cultivation path to be not as smooth as imagined. They are all young people among the monks, and there are many young and beautiful ones. At such an impulsive age, it is really difficult to keep that pure yang. Yu Bing smiled and teased a few words. But I have to admit that the pure yang spirit body is definitely the biggest gain today. It is a rare qualification in 500 years. As long as the pure yang is not broken, it will reach the gate within 100 years. Maybe there will be another Taoist heavenly master. And there are also 5 elements spirit body, Yuan spirit body and acquired spirit body. This selection has already exceeded his expectations. As for the remaining few people, he was too lazy to pay attention to it. It didn't matter whether there was a surprise or not. I took a breath, and under the gaze of everyone, I walked forward and put my hand on the measurement time. He seemed to have come with the 3 people just now. Someone in the crowd seemed to have seen me and knew that Lu Xiang and I came to the Taoist gate together. As soon as these words came out, everyone who had no feeling about the next measurement suddenly became interested. Lu Xiang and the other 2 are all geniuses who are rare in 100 years. Will this one be one too? Many people hold this idea, but some people still questioned it. You don't all think he is too, right? The qualification that is rare in 100 years is not some cabbage. How can it be as common as you think? When everyone thought about it, it seemed to be such a person. In the past, it was the limit for a genius who was rare in 100 years to appear in the selection. What's more, 3 have already appeared this time, and the possibility of a 4th one is too low. What's more, there is another one who will fall the day after tomorrow. I'm afraid that this selection of Taoist disciples has already exceeded everyone's imagination. At the same time, the measurement time began to glow. The dazzling white light almost blinded everyone's dog eyes. Yu Bing was flashed by the sudden white light and raised his head suddenly with a weird look. It was a pure yang spirit body again, and it seemed to be brighter than the white light of Lu Xiang. It was just that this thought just appeared in his mind, and the measurement time in his sight changed again. A touch of red appeared in an instant. Before Yu Bing had time to judge the corresponding physique, the measurement time turned into orange, followed by yellow, green, cyan, blue, and finally purple. Everyone present was stunned and shocked. Obviously, they did not expect such a strange phenomenon to appear. Yu Bing stood there on the spot, his face full of disgust and confusion. Cyan is rare in 10,000 years, blue is 100,000 years, and purple is 1,000,000 years. Yu Bing took a breath. To be honest, he would rather believe that there was a problem with the measurement time. The ancestors who had been in the state for 10,000 years had never achieved it. Not only Lu Xiang and Wang Yan were not better, their mouths opened wider than anyone else. As for Chen Nanyao, he was better, but his eyes were also full of shock. When changing the test, Yu Bing made a prompt decision. If it was a problem during the test, we would know if we tested it again. But at this moment, a figure landed directly beside me. Before Yu Bing could see clearly who the person was, the figure took me away without a trace. Yu Bing was shocked. It was like thunder beside him, telling Dao Wen that Dao Shu had taken me away. Yu Bing's expression changed drastically. The aptitude that was rare in 1,000,000 years was taken away right in front of him. Regardless of whether the aptitude was true or false, he would be skinned alive if he didn't die. Yu Bing was furious and quickly mobilized the true energy in his body to block it. However, the name he just heard suddenly brought him to the spot. Daoshu Yu Bing had never heard of this name, but the one who could be called this name was undoubtedly the Taoist Heavenly Master. When a Taoist monk reaches the 4th realm of entering the Tao, he automatically becomes the Heavenly Master Lu Tianxi Mansion. At the same time, they will also have to choose a Taoist name, and Taoist names all start with Daozi. It is very likely that the person who calls himself Daoshu is the Tianxi. But Yu Bing doesn't remember that. There is such a person as Daoshu in the Taoist sect, but he is familiar with the name Daowu. Li Zhen, the master of the Tianxi mansion, you will host the next test, and I will go to the Tianxi mansion. Yu Bing disappeared from everyone's sight after leaving a sentence, and went straight to the Tianxi mansion. Li Zhen was still shocked by the purple color that bloomed during the test. It was not until Yu Bing's figure disappeared that he came back to his senses and stared blankly at the place where I stood before. His face turned pale instantly. People who come to participate in the selection of Taoist disciples may not know what purple means during the test, but he knows that it is a rare qualification in a million years. Such a peerless monster was forcibly abducted during the selection process. He can imagine how angry those people in the Tianxi mansion will be once they know about this. The person in charge of this disciple selection, whether it is him or Yu Bing, will not escape death. Don't look at them as one is already a deacon and the other is an elder, but in front of the peerless monster that is rare in a million years, they are nothing. He knew very well that the appearance of this peerless evildoer almost involved the entire Taoist sect, and even the future bitterness and honor of the righteous path of the world. And such an amazing talent was abducted when he was fighting for glory. This is undoubtedly a huge provocation to the dignity and authority of the Taoist sect. I hope it's not too late. Li Zhen didn't know about the reverse transmission. He can only pray that Yu Bing will report this matter to the people in Tianxi mansion as soon as possible, and bring me back who was abducted. Only in this way may there be a glimmer of hope. Take a deep breath, suppress the panic and uneasiness in your heart, and quickly come to the place where Yu Bing stood before and shout loudly. Qualification side determination continues. Li Zhen shouted and pulled everyone back to reality. Looking at the side determination, the front was empty like a shadow. Lu Ziying squeezed through the crowd and left, not knowing what happened at all. The crowd looked ugly. I wanted to ask about my situation, but seeing Li Zhen's extremely ugly face, I still didn't dare to ask more. The atmosphere on the scene also became extremely depressed because of my sudden disappearance and the hurried departure of Yu Bing. A dark cloud shrouded everyone's heart. At this moment, in the Tianxi palace, Daowu, who was sitting in the first seat, slowly opened his eyes and glanced at the other 7 people sitting cross-legged below. His voice was as calm as water. Oh, Lao Zhen's disciple selection is about to end. In this selection of Buddhism, a disciple with the Great Sun Thunder body was born. The Great Sun Thunder body, Daojun was beside him, holding the floating Daoyun in his hand. There was a hint of shock in his voice. The palace lord was talking about the Great Sun Thunder body that is rare in 1,000 years. Yes, the palace lord really did it. At this moment, the others also opened their eyes and looked at Daowu. They were obviously shocked by the Great Sun Thunder body. Daowu nodded, but yes, this is the case. This Buddhism is really lucky. It actually produced a Great Sun Thunder body that is rare in 1,000 years. Junior brother Daojun, Buddhism and Taoism are like cicadas. The 4 families are united and fight against evil demons and heretics together. Don't forget the sound. The group of bald donkeys between the sects are not good things. Daojun continued with a curled mouth. Back then, Buddhism and Taoism were like cicadas. The 4 families could have destroyed the Fang family, but the group of bald donkeys in Buddhism thought about reaping the benefits and withdrew from the battlefield halfway, which allowed the Fang family to survive. Now it has become a big problem. In fact, Taoism can't be blamed entirely on Buddhism at that time. The 4 people of the Fang family were too strong. If they really fought hard, at least a few ancient Buddhas have fallen in Buddhism. If it were my Taoism, I'm afraid we would also retreat because of this. Buddhism is not unrelated to what happened back then. But if that person hadn't stopped us, there wouldn't have been so many things. Buddhism wouldn't have retreated so easily. Several people were loyal and righteous with dark faces. The man said coldly, saying that the black water separated them from the Fang family. How could we believe the words of the evil demons? He should take 60% of the responsibility for what happened back then. Dao Yu, don't speak out of turn. Dao Wu hurriedly stopped him. He just said that if it weren't for Brother Dao Shu's full rescue, I'm afraid a few more of us would have died in the battle between good and evil. At this point, Dao Wu sighed slightly. The Fang family was almost destroyed back then. Now hundreds of years have passed, but there is no movement. To be honest, I'm a little worried. The Fang family may be planning something. Maybe it's time to go to the demon realm. The benefactor has this time. It's better to go to Buddhism twice more and shrink the other 3 families to go all out. The 4 families of Buddhism and Taoism will join forces to destroy the Fang family. Although it will cost a lot, it will be done once and for all. It won't be like now. No one is willing to take the initiative, worried that others will get the upper hand in the end. Buddhism lost an ancient Buddha back then. I'm afraid they won't join forces with us now. Daojun waved his hand. His temper was so bad that we were too lazy to join forces with those rabbit girls. They just lost an ancient Buddha. My Taoist sect has been charging in the front. 3 heavenly masters have fallen. We didn't say anything. How dare he say that in Buddhism? Okay. Dao Wu pressed his hands, his tone was unquestionable. Although Dao Jun was not angry, he didn't mention the past anymore at this moment. He just expressed his disdain for Buddhism in one language. Does the owner of the blessing, DISCLASMER, need to be confirmed again? I'm worried that this is a smoke bomb released by those rabbit girls in Buddhism. Buddhism doesn't need it. Since they dare to publicize it, it must be true. Hey, those rabbit girls are lucky. They can even meet DISCLASMER, a genius that is rare in 1,000 years. Dao Wu glanced at Dao Jun, who said this, and felt a little helpless. But Dao didn't say anything either. He just mentioned the selection of disciples of Taoism this time. Our Dao sect has not had such a talented genius for 100 years. Hearing this, Dao Zhen and others felt a sense of happiness in their hearts. No matter which family it is, the continuation of the Taoist tradition is a rare genius in 100 years. Although it is not bad, it is still far from being able to inherit the Dao sect. Only the rare genius of 1,000 years can take over from Dao Wu and revitalize the Dao sect. And now, with the appearance of the great Sun Thunderhoof, the Buddhist sect obviously does not need to worry about the continuation of the Taoist tradition, but the Taoist sect still has to worry about it. A disciple with the great Sun Thunderhoof has appeared in the auxiliary Buddhist sect, so we must prepare early. In any case, the numerology conference 1 year later cannot be allowed to be dominated by the Buddhist sect. Dao Yun looked at Dao Wu worriedly, and his words also made the originally chaotic atmosphere become solemn in an instant. Dao Jun's expression changed drastically. Dao Wu, as the auxiliary leader, frowned at this moment. The numerology conference held every 3 years patronizes the entire southern prison for the inheritance of the Taoist tradition for the next 100 years. The Buddhist sect has won the first place in the numerology conference twice in a row. If the Buddhist sect is allowed to sweep it again this time, in the next 100 years, nearly half of the area of southern prison will become the place for Buddhists to preach, and it will also make the already hidden Buddhist sect even more powerful. The wider the place for Buddhists to preach, the stronger they will be. It will be difficult for the other 3 sects to have a place in the numerology conference. One move will affect the whole body, especially in this disciple selection. A Buddhist sect has emerged, a genius demon woman with the great Sun Thunder body. Dao Wu felt powerless when he thought of this. The assistant master saw Dao Wu remain silent, so Dao Yun couldn't help but remind him. But before he could say anything, Dao Wu raised his hand to interrupt him. The matter of the numerology conference will be discussed after the selection of disciples is over. But Dao Yun wanted to say something, so Dao Wu opened his mouth again and said, "Junior sister Dao Yun, don't worry. Even if there is no genius that is rare in 1,000 years in this selection, with the foundation of our Taoism, even if it is a talent that is rare in 100 years, we can still do it. It is not inferior to the great Sun Thunder body of Buddhism. Don't lose your sense of proportion because of the great Sun Thunder body promoted by Buddhism." Dao Yun bowed. The assistant master taught him, but Dao Yun couldn't help shaking his head in his heart. It's true that Taoism has a profound foundation, but Buddhism has also been passed down for 10,000 years, not worse than Taoism, and the resources provided to its disciples are almost the same. In this way, the qualifications of the disciples become the decisive factor. The gap between rare in 100 years and rare in 1,000 years is not as simple as 900 years. Dao Zhen and the others also had complicated expressions. While cursing the Buddhist sect for their shit luck, he was also secretly sighing. In order to stop the Buddhist sect's great Sun Thunder body from winning 3 consecutive games at the Magic Conference 1 year later, only a genius that is rare in 1,000 years can do it. However, a genius that is rare in 1,000 years is not a cabbage that is common on the street. It is not so easy for him to appear in the selection of Taoist disciples. Not to mention such a genius monster, even a genius that is rare in 100 years is not so easy to appear. These people did not have any hope for this. At this moment, outside the Tianqi Hall, Yubing looked nervous, and beads of sweat as big as acne kept rolling down his forehead. He was so anxious that he might as well fly to the front and back of the hall. He did not hesitate at all, fell to the ground in a state of stillness, and worshipped with the most respectful etiquette. The mansion lord told the palace elder Yubing that he had something important to see. The mansion lord was telling the palace elder Yubing. Dao Jun looked at Dao Wu, who was sitting on the guard, and explained that the selection of Taoist disciples was the responsibility of Yubing. Calculating the time, the second round should be over. This visit should be related to the second round of qualification assessment. However, Dao Jun groaned and said that the qualification assessment was over. The selection results will be released on the second day. Entering the pre-examination. This is the first time to rush directly to the Tianqi Hall to guide. I think there is something urgent. Dao Wu replied casually, "Let him in." Dao Jun nodded, and then sent a message to Yubing, who was kneeling outside the door at the moment. How can he be so flustered? Yubing knew that this move was too rash, but the situation was urgent and he had no choice. When he was about to explain, Daojun's voice came again, "Come in and talk." As soon as the voice fell, the door of the Tianxi Hall opened automatically. Yubing bowed to the Tianxi Hall, and then stepped into this hall that any cultivator yearned for very much. Yubing said respectfully, "I have met the lord of the house and all the Tianxi masters, so let's skip these red tapes." Yubing did not speak. The Tianxi said this because he thought highly of him. Whether he did it or not was a matter of attitude. These were two different things and could not be confused. Yubing was for the qualification test. At this time, Daojun asked. Yubing looked at Daojun in surprise and hurriedly said to report to the Tianxi, "It is indeed related to the qualification test." This time he had just said half of his words. Daojun interrupted him. "However, there is a genius monster that is rare in 1,000 years. Yubing shook his head. Without Daojun, he didn't believe in evil. Then there is a genius that is rare in 100 years. Yubing originally came to report that I was taken away by Daoshu, but when he heard Daojun asking about it, he could only suppress it first and quickly return to report to the Heavenly Master. In this qualification test, 3 people have excellent qualifications. One is a pure Yang spirit body, and the other 2 are 5-element spirit bodies and Yuan spirit bodies. They are all physiques that are rare in 100 years. Especially the pure Yang spirit body. If the pure Yang is not broken, it is better than the 5-element spirit body and the Yuan spirit body. Is the 5-element spirit body you are talking about real? Suddenly, a hurried voice sounded in the Heavenly Master Hall. Yubing sighed and found that it was Daoshu and Tianxi who had the 5-element spirit body. At this time, Yubing would never dare to deceive the Heavenly Masters. The 3 people are in the square at this moment. I want the 5-element spirit body. Daoshuan responded lightly. No one else said anything. After all, in terms of understanding the 5 elements magic, even Daowu, who is the auxiliary master, is not as good as Daoshuan. The 5-element spirit body is handed over to him. I will definitely not waste that disciple's talent that is rare in a century. If junior brother Daoshuan wants the 5-element spirit body, then leave the Yuan spirit body to me. Beside Daoshuan, a burly man suddenly opened his eyes. A calm voice rang out in the hall. No one wanted the pure Yang spirit body. Daojun looked at the others in surprise. Seeing that no one spoke, he thought for a while and said, "Since you brothers don't want to accept it, then I will teach the pure Yang spirit body." Junior brother Daojun, the pure Yang spirit body is more domineering than the 5-element spirit body and the Yuan spirit body. You must teach it well. The magic conference in a year may have to fall on you. Daowu's sudden words made Daojun, who had no choice but to accept Lu Xiang, the pure Yang spirit body, feel under great pressure. The Axe Master's pure Yang spirit body has greater potential than the 5-element spirit body and the Yuan spirit body. I admit this, but you can't break the Yuan Yang. They are all young kids of 17 or 18 years old. How can they resist the joy of rain? I think you still put your hope. Leave it to those 2 junior brothers. Or, you, Master Axe, can teach this pure Yang spirit. Dao Zhen curled his lips and just let it go. If it were other things, he wouldn't have any pressure, but the magic conference was too involved, and the pure Yang spirit was in a special situation. He couldn't just tie him up by his side at that time, even if it was within a year. What about after that? He accepted the teachings of the pure Yang spirit, but he didn't want to waste such a good talent. But Dao Wu insisted on involving the magic conference, and he wouldn't do it. Dao Wu was also at a loss and had to ignore it. Dao Yun on the side chuckled and said, "It's only a year. If senior brother Dao Zhen really keeps an eye on it, it shouldn't be a big problem. It's just that this pure Yang spirit will have a great demand for men and women in the future. It's indeed a bit difficult to keep the pure Yang body. But I believe that with senior brother Dao Zhen's means, it's not difficult to capture a disciple. Junior sister Dao Yun, just keep giving me a love potion." Dao Zhen said unhappily, "Senior brother Dao Zhen, I'm not giving you a love potion. It's just stating a fact." Dao Yun continued, "If you don't believe it, you can ask other people. As for teaching disciples, how many of us can compare to you? Besides, if you were not confident, how could you take over this pure Yang spirit body? Senior sister Dao Yun is right. Senior brother Daojun, we really don't have the confidence to teach the disciples with pure Yang spirit bodies well, otherwise we would not easily let you teach them." The man sitting under Daoyun bowed his long beard and smiled slightly. Daojun closed his ears and pretended not to hear it. He is not stupid. He is hundreds of years old. How could he think that what these people said is the same as what they said just because of a few words of flattery? Seeing that Daojun was not fooled, the few people met and smiled helplessly. Senior brother Daojun has become smart after being tricked by them several times. Dao Wu saw that they failed to fool the sky and said directly, "Junior brother Daojun, since the request has been made, the teaching of the pure yang spirit body will be handed over to you. As for the matter of the magic conference, we will discuss it later. Although Daojun was unwilling, he had said it before. He didn't say anything at the moment. The fish cake below was listening to the Taoist priest's tricks. He was sweating profusely. If there was no important matter to report, he would have wanted to leave right now. The Taoist priest's dark history is not so pleasant to hear. Who knows if one day these Taoist priests will be in a bad mood and go to him to talk about life or something. Dao Wu looked down. Wave your hand and leave if you are fine. Hearing this, Yubing subconsciously turned around and planned to leave, but then he thought, no, that's not right. He hurriedly called the Heavenly Master. The most important thing about the store has not been said yet. Seeing that Yubing was still in the same place, Daojun said, Yubing did a good job in selecting disciples this time. Although there was no genius that is rare in 1,000 years, it is also a great blessing for our Taoist sect to have these three people. You have done a great job in this matter. If you have any doubts about your cultivation in the future, you can come to me. Thank you, Heavenly Master Daojun. Yubing's face was full of joy. Daojun waved his hand and left. I have important matters to discuss with the other Heavenly Masters. Yubing looked at Sister Daojun with some laughter and tears. Master, Heavenly Masters, I have important matters to report. Is there anything more important than this qualification test? Daojun was a little puzzled. Pure Yang spirit body, 5 elements spirit body, and Yuan spirit body. In Daojun's view, these are already extremely important matters. It can be seen that Yubing does not seem to be lying. Daojun had to try one. Tell me about it. Fishcake bowed and said, actually, there is one person with a special situation in this qualification test. The reason why I hurried here was not for these 3 people, but for another person. Hearing this, Daojun and others all looked a little strange. After talking for so long, what 5 elements spirit body, Yuan spirit body, and even the pure Yang spirit body may be just an appetizer. Now everyone is a little curious. What kind of situation can make Fishcake say this? Tell me about it. Seeing that the Master Dao Wu spoke, Fishcake sorted out his words a little, and then said with a serious look, the white light that just burst out during the test is stronger than that of the pure Yang spirit body. Hearing this, Dao Wu nodded slightly. Generally speaking, those who can make white light burst out during the test have certain qualifications in cultivation, and there are some special cases among them. If it is just a faint white light, it is indeed an ordinary qualification. But if it can make the test burst out dazzling white light, it is 80 or 90 pure Yang spirit bodies. And to be able to burst out white light that is more dazzling than the pure Yang spirit body, is it a rare pure Yang holy body in 1,000 years? Dao Wu muttered in his heart. Although the pure Yang physique can make rapid progress in cultivation, this physique has too many limitations. Once the pure Yang is broken, there is a 100% chance of serious injury. Therefore, all the major cultivation sects are not optimistic about the pure Yang physique. Even if they can resist the temptation at the beginning, few people can resist it for a lifetime. As for the love affairs between men and women, once the pure Yang is broken, everything is over. Unless you can break through to a very high realm in a short period of time, the pure Yang physique can be cultivated quickly, but cultivation is not like eating and drinking. It takes time to settle. This path is obviously not realistic. At first, I also thought that this disciple had a pure Yang physique, but I didn't expect that there was a new change when I measured it. It directly turned into red. Yu Bing's next words really made everyone in the Tianxi Hall look surprised. When the aptitude is measured, the color of the measurement will generally only change once, just like what Yu Bing said, from white to red. Although several people are Tianxi and have achieved great cultivation, they have never seen such a change in the situation. But there is one thing that several people can be sure of. The aptitude of the disciple mentioned by Yu Bing is not too bad. It is even possible that he is a rare genius in 1,000 years. Of course, there is another possibility, that is, there is a problem in the measurement. However, no one asked about it at this moment, but focused their eyes on Yu Bing, motioning him to continue. Yu Bing took a breath and continued to describe. Then there was a new change in the measurement. It turned from red to orange, and then to yellow, and even green. Hearing this, the eyes of several people looking at Yu Bing were also slightly the same. Generally speaking, even if there is a problem in the measurement, there will not be so many changes, from white to red, to orange, yellow, and even green. If there is a problem in the measurement, there should not be so many changes. Daoshuan, who had been silent for a long time, suddenly looked at Dao Wu. He spoke out his doubts. Indeed, Dao Wu nodded. It seems that there was no problem during the measurement. Maybe it was related to the qualification of the disciple, but I didn't have any idea about his specific physique for a while. However, this person's qualification was so high that it should be rare in the 10,000 years since the establishment of the Dao sect. At this point, Dao Wu's black pupils became brighter and brighter. A touch of joy quickly passed by, but soon Dao Wu regained his composure and looked at Yu Bing. You continue without worrying about us. Then, Yu Bing took a breath and said, the changes during the measurement did not stop because of this. Instead, the speed of transformation became faster and finally bloomed into an astonishing purple color. As soon as Yu Bing's voice fell, the sound of the cold air of the Taoist system suddenly sounded in the Tianxi Hall. The eyes of Dao Wu and others were almost instantly fixed on Yu Bing, filled with horror. Dao Zhen and Dao Zan, who were sitting diagonally opposite, met each other and saw a touch of horror in each other's eyes. Dao Zhen narrowed his eyes slightly, exhaled slowly, and looked at Dao Wu. If I remember correctly, it can make many changes during the measurement. There should be only one kind of body type that ends up in purple. Dao Wu came back to his senses and opened his mouth slightly. If nothing unexpected happened, it should be that kind of physique. Shanti and Shangti to the fetus. Several people said these 6 words at the same time, and then there was a sound of swallowing saliva in the Tianxi Hall. Ha Daojun slapped his thigh and stood up suddenly. I should have thought of it earlier. Only this kind of aptitude that is rare in a million years can cause such a change in the measurement. Shanti and Shangti to the fetus. Listening to the several shocked sounds that sounded almost at the same time in his ears, the expression on Yu Bing's face also froze instantly. He always thought that there was a problem in the measurement, but he didn't expect that there was no problem in the measurement at all, but that my aptitude was so high that it could cause changes in the measurement. Shanti and Shangti to the fetus, this can almost be said to be a legendary physique. You must know that even the ancestor who founded the Taoism was only a rare Shanti and Shangti in 100,000 years. Even so, it allowed the Taoism to quickly become the leader of the world's righteous way in the next few hundred years. Now the Taoism is not weak. If there is another Shanti and Shangti to the fetus, what kind of height will the Taoism reach next? He could hardly imagine that Buddhism, Confucianism and Zen, as long as I can successfully break through to the 4th realm, these 3 sects are not worthy of being the opponents of Taoism. As for those evil demons, they are nothing but chickens and dogs in front of the innate holy body. Daojun was stunned for a while, then laughed. Buddhism only produced a great sun thunder body that is rare in 1,000 years, and it spread it everywhere, fearing that no one would know. Yes, my Taoism now has the innate holy body to the fetus, so shouldn't I invite the righteous ways of the world? Daojun, don't talk nonsense. Dao Wu came back to his senses and glared at Daojun angrily. How can the innate holy body to the fetus be publicized? Daojun smiled kindly. I was just joking, but Daojun's expression suddenly became serious. I'm afraid that the disciple of the Blessed Master who has the innate holy body to the fetus needs you to teach him personally. Brother Daojun is right. If this person is trained properly, my Taoism may reach another peak under his leadership. Dao Yunmeng on the side spoke in support. Innate holy body to the fetus, as long as he can reach the 4th realm of entering the Tao. You can go anywhere in the world. It is possible to break through to the level of entering the Tao. In this way, in the next 10,000 years, the Taoism will still be the leader of the righteous way in the world. Dao Xuan couldn't hide the joy on his face. As for the evil demons, they won't be able to jump around for long. When this person was imagining the future, Yu Bing reacted quickly and said hesitantly, Masters of Fortune, I have one more thing to report. Dao Wu's face was full of joy, and his eyes looking at Yu Bing were much softer. Yu Bing gritted his teeth and said, feeling the terrifying momentum of Shugu, he was pressed to the ground without any preparation. An extremely angry roar came from his ears. Why didn't you say it earlier? He thought that the look in a person's eyes could not be hidden. Dao Wu was in this state now, the kind of anger suppressed to the extreme. At this time, if there was any spark, it would be a raging flame that would soar into the sky. At this moment, one could even see the obvious rise and fall of Dao Wu's chest. From this, it can be seen that his anger has reached an extremely terrifying height. However, it is understandable to think about it. The innate holy body and Daotai that can enable Taoism to suppress Buddhism, Confucianism and even Zen in the next 10,000 years was forcibly abducted in Taoism. Dao Wu did not pick it up and kill it immediately, which was considered a good mentality. If it were some hot-tempered monks, Yu Bing would have been blown up by a palm long ago, and how could he stand in the Tianxi Hall openly? It's like a family that has been poor for a long time, and suddenly heard that a gold mine was dug out in the family field, but before they could be happy, the gold mine was directly taken away by others. The kind of loss and anger that fell directly from the top of the cloud to the bottom of the valley, if it were anyone, I'm afraid they would not be able to suppress it. Dao Wu was like this, and Daojun and others were not much better. Especially Daojun, who had been in charge of the selection of Taoist disciples over the years. Now, the sect finally produced a peerless monster with higher qualifications than the Taoist founder, but before he could be happy for a while, he was snatched away under his nose. The impact of falling from extreme joy to deep despair and anger was unimaginable. Bang! In the hall where the atmosphere was almost frozen, Dao Jun's face was arguing, his eyes were red, and he slapped out with one palm. The time beside him was instantly shattered into pieces. Then he shouted in a voice that was almost like a roar, "The innate holy body and the Taoist fetus can be forcibly abducted by others, and it was during the selection of my Taoist disciples. Tell me what's going on. Who has this ability? Buddhism, Confucianism, Zen, or those evil demons hiding in Baichong, who dares to do this?" Not only Dao Jun, but even Dao Yun and others were in a state of extreme anger at this moment. Although the three sects of Buddhism, Confucianism and even Zen have always been on guard against our Dao sect, and even envied the position of the leader of the world for a long time, they should not dare to do so in this matter. Dao Yu, who was above Dao Zan, had a distorted face. This matter was most likely related to the Fang family. It was even possible that Fang Shanzong came to Dao sect in person. Although Fang Shanzong was strong, he should not dare to come to our Dao sect alone. He even dared to kidnap our disciples. He was not afraid that we would attack together and leave him behind. Dao Zan suddenly asked. When this was said, the others were unanimous. Fang Shanzong was strong, but he was not strong enough to ignore the Tianxi mansion. If they joined forces, it would not be too difficult to kill Fang Shanzong, let alone take him down. No matter how brave Fang Shanzong was, he probably would not dare to show up in Dao sect. Moreover, they were too familiar with the people of the Fang family. They would have sensed it as long as those people of the Fang family showed a little breath. How could the Fang family kidnap the disciples who possessed the innate holy body and the Taoist fetus? There has been no reaction for a long time. This is not normal. Be quiet. Dao Wu waved his hand to suppress the anger of the crowd. His cold eyes fell on Yu Bing. Did you see the appearance of the person who came clearly? No. Yu Bing shook his head and then said quickly, but the man sent me a message after kidnapping the person. He said something and asked me to tell the lord of the palace that he had to take the person away. Yu Bing raised his eyes and glanced at Dao Wu with a cold face. He spoke carefully. By the time I reacted, the man had disappeared without a trace. I knew I was no match for him, so I quickly rushed to the Heavenly Master Hall. The lord of the palace and the Heavenly Masters knew what happened next. It was him. Dao Yu clapped his hands and stood up with an angry look on his face. What does he want to do if he takes away the disciple of the innate holy body and the Taoist fetus? Doesn't he think he made enough mistakes back then? Why does he want to snatch the disciples of the innate holy body and the Taoist fetus to inherit his mantle? He wants to see if we are willing to do so. At this point, Dao Yu bowed and looked at Dao Wu, Lord of the Palace. I will go to him to ask for the person. Before the few people could react after he finished speaking, the person had already disappeared from the Tianxi Hall like a wisp of smoke. Dao Yu, wait a minute. When Dao Wu heard that it was Dao Shu who took the person away, he knew that something was wrong. Unexpectedly, he still failed to stop Dao Yu. At this moment, he did not dare to hesitate and quickly chased after him. Let's go. The palace master and the other two were no match for that person. With Dao Yu's temper, I'm afraid he will take action after seeing that person, and he might suffer a loss. Dao Zhen glanced at the two who had disappeared, and looked at the remaining Dao Yun and the others with his greedy hands. Dao Yun and the others also knew the situation, and without saying a word, they disappeared from the Tianxi Hall with Dao Zhen. In the blink of an eye, the entire Tianxi Hall was suddenly empty, leaving only Yu Bing alone and desolate in the wind. Looking at the empty hall, Yu Bing's eyes were dull. He didn't know whether to stay or leave first and wait for Dao Zhen to find him. But these were not the most important. In his mind, there was only the sentence before Dao Zhen left. Even the palace master and Dao Yu Tianxi were no match for them. He was talking about the person who kidnapped me. Dao Shu looked at the cultivators who entered the four paths. Yu Bing took a breath and suddenly felt fortunate that he had not taken action before. Otherwise, he might have turned around and slapped him into a bloody mess. And after hearing what Zhen said, the palace master and the heavenly masters seemed to be very familiar with Dao Shu. Who was Dao Shu? There are cultivators in my Dao sect who are stronger than the palace master. On the other hand, Dao Wu is still a few points stronger than Dao Yu. Looking at Dao Yu's figure, he shouted, Dao Yu, what do you want to do? What do I want to do? Dao Yu didn't even turn his head. I would like to ask, what does he want to do by forcibly abducting the disciple who is pregnant with the innate holy body and the Taoist fetus? It's okay to act recklessly when he besieged the Fang family that time, but why do you want to rely on your stronger strength to do whatever you want? Again, Brother Dao Shu may have his reasons for doing this, Dao Wu persuaded earnestly. You also know that if Brother Dao Shu hadn't fought 1-against-2 and fought Fang Shanzong and his wife, I'm afraid several of us would have died in the battle. If he hadn't proposed to be separated from the Fang family by the Black Water, how could the Buddhist sect leave in advance, and how could that day's incident happen? Daoing wouldn't have accidentally fallen into the black water to save me, and his life and death would have disappeared. Dao Yu became more and more angry. I didn't say anything when he guarded Dao Yu all these years, but now he wants to abduct the disciple who is pregnant with the innate holy body and the Taoist fetus and inherit his mantle. He has to ask my Jonda if he agrees. After saying that, Dao Yu's figure became a little faster. Dao Wu also knew Dao Yu's temper. In addition to the incident that year, the death of his Dao and Daoing. It is indeed related to Daoshu, and it is normal to hate Daoshu. Dao Yu has been relatively restrained over the years, but he did not expect that Daoshu would forcibly abduct the disciple of the innate holy body Dao Tai. This is no different from stirring up a hornet's nest, and it was Dao Yu, the madman. Thinking of this, Dao Wu became more and more helpless, looking into the distance. Brother Daoshu, what on earth do you want to do? I am very panicked and fierce now. I just stood in front of the planner for a while, and the next moment I felt the extreme of riding the wind. The key to the stimulation is that he is very uncomfortable now, as if he was clamped by something, and his body could not move. What came to his ears was the whistling sound of the wind, but fortunately this state only lasted for a short time. When I opened my eyes again, I found myself in a relatively dim room. I was wondering when a voice suddenly rang in my ear. Innate holy body Dao Tai. I thought this kind of physique only existed in legends, but I didn't expect it to really exist. It seems that the rumors are not all false. At this time, I found that there was a man in black clothes standing in front of me, with his back to me. If you have anything to ask, please ask as soon as possible. I might be busy later. Who are you? Although I was a little nervous, I thought that this place should still be within the scope of Daomen. The nervousness in my heart was quickly suppressed. Daoshu is a Taoist monk. I think he is right. I am not sure, but I dare to kidnap him blatantly in Daomen. Apart from Taoist monks, I don't think anyone else would have the courage. Even his father would probably not come to Daomen alone in such a dignified manner. That would be purely courting death. After thinking about it, I asked again. This should not be within the scope of Daofeng, right? Is it or not? Daoshu explained, if it must be called something, they all call this place Daoyu, which is used to imprison the evil and crooked ones and some who have committed serious mistakes. I wrote down these contents, frowned. Why did you humiliate me here? Daoshu said honestly that you have good talent. I just need a disciple to inherit my generation. Senior is also a Taoist monk. It's about the same. That's it. I was relieved to hear that this is a Taoist prison, and it is also a place where evil demons are imprisoned. He thought his identity was discovered. Now it seems that he thought too much. The other party just wanted to accept him as a disciple. But suddenly he was forcibly humiliated and left. I was also a little angry. Senior, aren't you afraid that I will refuse? Wenyan Daoshu turned around and said, it's up to you. If you don't want to worship me as your master, I won't force you. It's just that with your physique, worshipping under other people is a bit of a waste of your rare talent in a million years. My throat moved. Who is this person who is so conceited? With his innate holy body and Taoist fetus, he worships under the heavenly master. No more scratching his chin. How strong is the Taoist heavenly master? I don't know that he has too little contact with cultivation, but as the strongest fighting force of the Taoist, he will definitely not be weak. He is even one of the people standing at the top of the cultivators. But this person is still so arrogant. His strength is evident. Daoshu glanced at him and said lightly, if you have any other questions, forget it later. I'll solve the problem first. This group of people came very quickly. I don't understand yet. So, Daoshu had disappeared from the house. When he came to his senses, he heard a roar from outside. The voice was so loud that even if he was in the moon robbery, he could still hear it clearly. Daoshu, hand over the person. You have been stealing the moon for so many years, and you are still so irritable. Daoshu floated in the air, stepping on the white clouds, with a fairy-like posture. Seeing Daoshu, especially his calm appearance, Daoyu was so angry that he gritted his teeth. Daoshu, hand over the person you forcibly abducted, otherwise don't blame me for being rude to you. He has planned to worship me as his master. When I heard this, I rolled my eyes. When did he agree? But at this time, he didn't dare to run out and ruin Daoshu's stage. This guy looks hard to mess with. As for who to worship as a master, I decided to estimate the cost first. First add the holy body and Taoist fetus. There will be no worries that no one will want it. Do you think I will believe it? Daoyu was furious. Daoshu spread his hands and said, I can't do anything about it. If it doesn't work, I'll bring him here for a confrontation. Senior brother Daoshu, can't you not provoke Daoyu? Daoyu felt helpless. He really didn't want to face Daoshu, especially when Daoyu was there. The two of them got together, and quarrels were nothing. Because of what happened back then, they had no idea how many times they had fought. Every time they killed each other, it was so fierce that he had to come out to mediate and clean up the mess for the two. Before, Yu Bing said that the person was taken away by Dao Shu, so he knew that Dao Yu would take the opportunity to make trouble. The key is that these two people are not easy to deal with. Dao Shu, do you really think I dare not kill you? Come and try. Dao Shu narrowed his eyes and had no intention of backing off. Dao Wu was helpless. He was afraid that the two would fight, so he could only come between the two. Senior brother Dao Shu, can you bring the person out first? You have never been a disciple. There is no need to make such a fuss with junior brother Dao Yu for this matter. It's not good. Dao Shu directly refused Dao Wu. Zhu Maidao said that what happened back then was indeed related to me, but if he had agreed earlier, he would not have died, so many people would have been separated from the Fang family by the black water. The evil demons and heretics should be punished by everyone. Dao Yu immediately replied. Dao Shu smiled and said, 10,000 years ago, the evil demons did commit many evil deeds. But after the Fang family unified Baichong, the evil demons you mentioned also committed heinous crimes. The Baichong people are now living better than the southern region. How do you explain this? Could it be that you say they are evil demons and they are not good enough? If you hadn't insisted on fighting to the death with the Fang family, Dao Ying would not have died. If I hadn't taken on the Fang couple alone, do you think you can still stand here today and talk nonsense to me? Dao Yu's face flushed instantly, but Dao Shu didn't let go of any opportunity to strike Dao Yu. Coming across the black water was originally a win-win situation, but you had to listen to the instigation of those people in the Buddhist sect, and finally killed many brothers in the Taoist sect. Now these responsibilities have been shirked completely. I don't want to argue with you. I really think that what I think is right. Some things are not just said by me, but Dao Wugan has also told you. If you are still stubborn, don't blame me for not cherishing our friendship. Dao Yu's face became uglier and uglier, and he looked at Dao Shu coldly. I am responsible for Dao Ying's death, but you are also responsible for the blood. I am too lazy to distinguish these. Don't you always think you are the best in the world? Then I will show you the results of my retreat for 100 years. Dao Shu can catch up with the life and death stage. He was too lazy to talk to Dao Shu at this moment. He also knew that his words were not as good as Dao Shu's. In this case, let's see the truth with our hands. If you win, you can eat meat. If you lose, life and death will disappear. It's that simple. Senior brother Dao Shu, junior brother Dao Yu, let's not talk about what happened back then for now. At this time, Dao Jun and others also rushed over. Seeing that the scene was tense, Dao Yu even proposed a life and death battle. How could they dare to delay, and quickly stepped forward to stop the two of them? Senior brother Dao Shu, you were at least the previous lord of Tianxi Mansion, so you should say a few words. And Dao Yu, you are also brothers. Although there are some misunderstandings because of what happened back then, it has not reached the stage of life and death. Dao Jun persuaded the two of them earnestly. Dao Shu did not speak. Dao Yu was still angry, but was pulled back by Dao Yun. Dao Jun fell again. Senior brother Dao Shu, I think you also know that the downfall of that disciple with the innate holy body is the result of my arrival at the sect's prosperity for thousands of years in the future. Can you return the person first? As for junior brother Dao Yu's inappropriate remarks, the Lord and I will definitely reprimand him later. Okay. Dao Jun was happy, thinking that senior brother Dao Shu was still easy to talk to, but the smile on his face was completely stiff the next second. If you beat me, you can take the person away. Dao Jun's expression suddenly became better. How can they fight? The seven of them can definitely beat Dao Shu, but the key is that Dao Yu, the madman, is here. Originally, it might just be a few brothers sparring, but they might get angry in the next second and turn it into a life and death battle. Dao Jun smiled helplessly. Brother Dao Shu, I admit that you are very strong, but is it too arrogant to want to beat seven of us alone? Before he could say the word, Dao Jun's eyes turned to Dao Yu, who was silent but exuding a dangerous aura, and changed the subject. Are you too confident? The seven of them are undoubtedly strong men who have entered the fourth realm of Taoism, let alone Dao Shu. Even if the old man of the Fang family came, he would have to flee. More than 100 years ago, Dao Shu's strength was not as good as that of the old man of the Fang family, and the difference in strength was not a little bit. Even so, when the seven of them joined forces, they suppressed the old man of the Fang family to death, not to mention Dao Shu, whose strength was not as good as that of the old man of the Fang family. Although Dao Shu's strength has improved after more than 100 years, they are not standing still. Several of them have even broken through their original realms. Their strength is incomparable to that of the past. 7 against 1. Don't be too easy. Are you confident? The facts will tell. Dao Shu's indifferent tone came. Dao Jun had no choice but to say, Brother Dao Shu really doesn't want to hand him over. I said he has already worshipped me as his master. Brother Dao Shu rarely accepts disciples. Why do you have to make things difficult for all of you brothers? I don't need to explain to you how important the arrival of the innate holy body is to our Taoist sect. Brother Daoshu naturally knows it. Brother Daoshu is responsible for guarding the Tao prison. How can he have time to teach his disciples? I said you can take my people away if you win. Why do you say so much to him? The 7 of us joined forces. Could it be that we can't beat him? Daola couldn't listen any longer. If he hadn't been stopped by Daoyun. Seeing Daoshu's rogue behavior at this moment, he was even more furious. I know what you are worried about. Don't worry, I won't make a move. Can the 6 of you not beat him? Hearing this, Daojun moved a little, but when he looked at Daowu, Daowu shook his head gently at him, so he had to give up reluctantly. Not fighting was not only because of Daolei, but also more importantly, Daoshu himself was also a Taoist monk, and he was the previous assistant of Tianxi Mansion. His strength was the strongest among all the brothers. It was understandable that he wanted to accept a disciple. Moreover, if Daoshu was really willing to teach carefully, it would be the best thing for the innate holy body to come to the stage. In this way, fighting for this matter, although it was a competition, who knows if it would cause anger during the fight. At that time, if Daolei encouraged it again, it might hurt everyone's harmony. Who knows? Daowu sighed, bowed and praised, "Brother, since you want to teach that disciple, it is his fate. In this way, we will not disturb you anymore." Daoshu was not surprised by the result, but Daolei refused to do it. The service master just didn't say anything before Daolei was forcibly taken away by Daowu and others. As soon as Daowu and the others left, Daoshu was relieved. Although he was sure that Daowu and the others would not take action, if they really joined forces, he would definitely not be their opponent. Fortunately, Daowu was more concerned about the overall situation and did not act impulsively. Daoshu returned to the Daoli and saw me looking at him in surprise. He asked without thinking, "What are you looking at?" "Senior, you are the previous service master of Tianxi Mansion. Although I don't know much about cultivation, I still know something about the Taoist Tianxi Mansion. Fang Yu has mentioned it several times. As long as a Taoist cultivator breaks through the 4th realm of Taoism, he will automatically enter Tianxi Mansion. The service master of Tianxi Mansion is undoubtedly the strongest among the Taoist cultivators. He doesn't know what the 4th realm of Taoism is, but I know one thing very well. Fang Yu has not broken through the 4th realm of Taoism. What makes me more curious is that, in theory, the service master of Tianxi Mansion rarely abdicates before he starts painting. It's the first time he has heard of Dao Shu, the previous service master of Tianxi Mansion, coming to guard the Dao domain. Facing my inquiry, Dao Shu smiled and said nothing, which was considered as tacit agreement. "What's your name, Junior?" "My last name is Fang." Dao Shu glanced at me indifferently. I don't know what I was thinking, but my expression was tense. This guy wouldn't think that I had any relationship with the Baichong Fang family, right? Fortunately, Dao Shu didn't stare at me for too long, and asked me directly about the conversation between me and those people just now. "I think you also heard it. Are you willing to become my disciple?" "Of course, you can go to Daowu. He is the current Tianxi Mansion server master. His strength is naturally not weak. With his escort, it is not a waste of your talent. However, there are many restrictions to become his disciple. Let me first talk about the pros and cons of becoming my disciple." Dao Shu didn't mean to fight for me. He talked to himself. "The advantage is that I am strong enough. I can do what they know and what they don't know." Hearing this, I didn't say anything in my heart. The person who can stop his parents alone has no doubt about his strength. "And I won't restrict your freedom. You can go wherever you want with this door, but there is one thing. Before you have a certain strength, it's best not to go down the mountain." As for the bad things, Dao Shu thought about it. Because of some things that happened more than 100 years ago, I have some differences with the people in Tianxi Mansion, especially Daola, who has an extreme temper. If you worship me as your master, he will inevitably be troubled by Daoli's disciples one day. Of course, you don't have to worry that Daola will attack you. Although his temper is a bit extreme, he will not bully the weak. You know the benefits of becoming Dao Wu's disciple. You don't have to worry about those people from Daoli's sect causing trouble for you. As for the rest, it's not that I'm conceited. Even if he stood in front of me today, I dare to say that he is not as good as me. I was selling myself at a price. Now that I know Dao Shu's ability, naturally there is nothing to consider. I have met the master. Dao Shu nodded with satisfaction and asked, "Have you ever been exposed to cultivation before?" I shook my head. "No, I haven't." Dao Shu felt it for a while. Indeed, he didn't feel the ability to generate true energy in me. After thinking about it, I thought, so let me first talk about some basics related to cultivation. I put on a serious face. Cultivation is divided into 7 innate realms and 4 realms of entering the Tao. The 7 innate realms are Qi refining, innate Yinghua Shen, Dongshu, Dao, and Longdao. According to your talent, it shouldn't take long to get through Qi refining. The slowest is 2 to 3 years, and the fastest is 1.5 years. Only above the innate realm, even if you have the innate holy body of the Tao fetus, the speed will drop a lot. The reason is very simple. Above the innate realm, each realm is a watershed. Only 1 in 10 or even 1 in 100 can break through. I nodded in Chinese. This is the first time that he has learned about cultivation in such detail. Master, what about the 4 realms of entering the Tao? Too much is too much. Dao Shu said, some things, knowing too much, are not good for your cultivation. You are not even at the stage of qi refining yet, so you don't need to consider entering the 4th realm of Taoism. When you break through the Dongshu realm, it won't be too late to learn about entering the 4th realm of Taoism. However, even with your talent, it will probably take hundreds of years. Dao Shu didn't say much about entering the 4th realm of Taoism. He just threw me 2 books of basic Taoist magic and a few spirit stones before leaving. I was told to practice hard and strive to pass the qi refining realm within half a year. However, practice requires gradual progress, so you don't need to be in a hurry. Although qi refining is only the first realm on the road of practice, it is the most difficult to get started. As long as you can pass the qi refining realm within a year, it will be worth it for your talent as a congenital saint body and Taoist fetus. As for spirit stones, there are only so many, so use them sparingly. Dao Shu left a word and disappeared from my sight. I wanted to ask about some precautions in practice, but I didn't expect this cheap master to run away after throwing me 2 books of magic. I had no choice but to come to the side and look through your 2 magics. Just after I glanced at them, a line of information suddenly appeared in front of me. Jiyu Kashu has not yet entered the realm, and Kadashu has not yet entered the realm. I took a look at the information panel. My physique was congenital, holy, and Taoist. My magic and qi were not yet in the process. My pure body was not in the process. The current remaining emotion value was 5,482, which could be converted to receive aid. The emotion value of 54,000 in 54 years caught my attention. If I remember correctly, the emotion value was less than 200 yesterday. How did it suddenly soar to 5,000? I was a little surprised. You know, the emotion value he accumulated before was only a little over 1,000 a day on average. Now, in less than a day, it shouldn't be less than an hour, it has soared to 5,000. The increase is quite large. The reason lies with me. If it is related to me, the only possibility is the qualification test. The innate holy body and the Taoist fetus, a qualification that is rarely seen in a million years, will undoubtedly bring a surprising emotional reaction to many people, which will lead to a surge in emotional values. There are so many kinds of emotions: joy, anger, sorrow, compassion, fear, shock, resentment, innate holy body, Taoist fetus, surprise, and all those who know are extremely powerful cultivators. In addition, when determining the qualifications before, the changes during the determination also surprised many people. In this way, it is understandable that the emotional value will surge. However, these are all my own speculations. Whether it brings emotional fluctuations to people with stronger strength, the higher the emotional value provided to him, further experiments are needed. Now there is no need to rush to test it. Compared with this, maybe the emotional value can be converted into the 2 techniques obtained by the lifespan deduction. I now have 5,482 emotional points, which can be converted into 54 years of lifespan. It can be said that I became rich overnight. I plan to invest a few months in Jiyu Kashu to try it out. As for the fragile body technique, it is related to the fragile body refining. I plan to put the matter of polishing the body aside and concentrate on completing the practice of the qi refining mirror. His mind moved slightly. You invested all your lifespan for 1 month in Jiyu Kashu. You looked at the Jiyu Kashu you just got and fell into deep thought. You had never practiced any magic, so for a moment you didn't know how to start. Fortunately, you were gifted and had an innate holy body. With your physique and magic matched, you felt a hint of qi in your body in just 1 day. You were ecstatic. 5 days passed in a flash, and in a month you finally broke through the first level of the qi refining mirror. That's it. I was extremely depressed. After all, I was an innate holy body that was rare in a million years. I invested a whole month, and I had no distractions and practiced hard for a month, but I just barely broke through the first level of the qi refining mirror. He remembered very clearly what Dao Shu said before he left. With his talent, he could pass the qi refining in a year or 2. What does that mean? The qi refining mirror is the initial realm, which is different from other realms. It is divided into the 1st to 9th levels of qi refining. The 1st level is the lowest and the 9th level is the highest. Breaking through the 9th level is the innate mirror. He calmed down and practiced by himself. Even if he couldn't break through to the 3rd or 4th level of the qi refining mirror in 1 month, in a month, even a person with ordinary qualifications could break through the 1st stage of the qi refining mirror. I didn't expect that it would cause some ripples when thrown into Gu Kashu. But when I thought that it only took a blink of an eye to break through the first stage of the chi refining mirror, and that those lifespans were free, I didn't think too much about it. It's like picking up 1,000 yuan for nothing. When you go to the store and the people tell you that you can only use it as 10 yuan, he still accepts it. 10 yuan is still money, and you can always buy some food. Seeing that 10 years have passed without even a splash, I simply invested half a year of my lifespan this time. In these few months, you have gradually deepened your understanding of Gu Kashu with your unique innate holy body. At the beginning, you explored carefully like a beginner, trying to guide the spiritual energy of heaven and earth into your body, and using a unique method of breathing in the soil to condense your own internal breath, which is the so-called chi. As time goes by, your cultivation is getting better and better. Every time you understand Gu Kashu, you have a deeper understanding of chi. After a month and a half, you successfully broke through to the second stage of the chi refining mirror. 2 months passed like a snap of the fingers. You successfully opened the third step of Gu Kashu cultivation. The weak sense of chi in your body gradually gathered into a stream, which was stable and powerful. After another half a month, after countless times of meditation and hard practice, you finally had a huge breakthrough. You successfully broke through to the fourth level of chi refining mirror. It was better than your lifespan. 53 years and 3 months, the fourth level of chi refining mirror. The corner of my mouth twitched. The talent that is rare in a million years is indeed powerful. In just 3 months, not only did you complete the introduction of chi into the body, but you even reached the fourth level of chi refining mirror for the first time. It seems that the beginning of any practice is the most difficult, and the rest will be fast. At this moment, if he has a lifespan of hundreds of thousands of years, he feels that he may be able to reach the fourth level of Taoism in one day. However, he had expected it long ago and was too lazy to care about it. He continued to invest his lifespan in Gu Kashu. In these long years, you are like a rough jade of alcohol magic. Through continuous practice of Gu Kashu, the chi in your body has gradually become thick and spiritual from the initial hazy perception. For half a year, you have been immersed in the world of cultivation, constantly analyzing, mastering and skillfully using the secrets of Gu Kashu, and finally breaking out of the cocoon and becoming a butterfly. He broke through to the 9th level of the Chi Refining Sutra in one fell swoop. At this time, your body is like an unfathomable sea of chi, constantly absorbing and refining the spiritual energy between heaven and earth. It seems that I was right. Getting started is the most difficult. After getting started, you will have a certain understanding of the techniques, and your cultivation speed will increase accordingly. I saw that in just 3 months, his cultivation level was directly raised from the 4th level of the Chi Refining Sutra to the 9th level of the Chi Refining Sutra. I felt something in my heart. Moreover, through the cultivation of Gu Kashu, he also understood one thing. In fact, any physique can adapt to Gu Kashu's basic techniques. Although he has an innate holy body and a Taoist fetus, he is only faster than ordinary physiques in absorbing the spiritual energy of heaven and earth. Cultivation is not just about physique, but also about comprehension, so my comprehension is also very good. I rolled my eyes and continued to invest my lifespan in Gu Kashu. Your cultivation has reached a bottleneck. It has become an obstacle for you to continue to break through. A year has passed quickly. You have been thinking hard, but still have nothing to gain. Seeing that I have invested a year of my lifespan and still have nothing to gain, I decisively gave up and focused on the fragile body technique. Chi refining is important, but the strength of the physical body cannot be ignored. The human body is like a jar. How much gas can be contained in it is not only related to the size of the jar, but also to the material of the jar. If the jar is strong, there will be no problem even if the gas is compressed into liquid. However, if it is an ordinary jar, the possibility of explosion is almost 100%. Similarly, if the true chi gathers in the body, if the physical body is not strong enough, it will be easily blown up by the condensed true chi. You feel that you cannot break through the chi refining, so you start to change your mind and think about whether it is related to the strength of the physical body. In half a year, your fragile body technique has been refined to perfection. In the 51st year, Dao Shu took a step forward and appeared in the depths of the prison the next moment. Zhou Shi saw the people coming and smiled helplessly. They were Dao Wu Fuju and others. Yes, it was them. Dao Shu nodded slightly. Brother, you knew that you and you were not on good terms, so why bother to provoke them? I know that you are extremely powerful and you might be able to suppress 2 or 3 people. But we are all brothers and sisters after all. We are all Taoist monks and we are all for the expansion of Taoism. Why do we have to make such a fuss about what happened that year? There was already such a conflict before, and brother is still going to. Zhou Shi shook his head and really didn't know what to say. After a while, Zhou Shi asked, Brother, why did you even invite Dao Wu Fuju to come? Dao Yu came. That guy has a bad temper. He always feels that Daoshu was responsible for what happened over 100 years ago. So why did Daoshu suddenly go looking for trouble with them? Daoyu would be crazy. During today's disciple selection, I forcibly abducted a disciple with good talent. I didn't expect them to keep holding on to this matter and even came to kill me. They left after much persuasion. Daoshu said depressedly, "Brother, don't you always dislike accepting disciples?" Joshi was curious. "Why did you even want to accept a disciple this time?" Daoshu said calmly, "That disciple has quite good talent." Joshi became even more curious. Every time the Taoist sect selects disciples, there will be disciples with good talents. After all, senior brother is also a Taoist monk, and the previous benefactor. If he takes away a disciple, Dao Fuju and others will not chase him to the prison of robbers, right? What kind of talent can make them pay so much attention to the innate holy body and Taoist fetus? Oh my god, Zhou Zai's eyes almost popped out, and he didn't know whether to laugh or cry. No wonder Dao Fuju and others came to kill me. If it were me, I would also be furious. I suddenly understood why they came to kill me. Daoshu was a coward and didn't pay attention to what Joshi said. Joshi calmed down his fluctuating heart and asked, "Where is the disciple, brother?" Daoshu said casually. Hugh gave him 2 books of basic techniques, and asked him to practice first. "Brother, you are wrong." Joshi said speechlessly. He should not have been exposed to cultivation before. If not, then the senior brother will not teach you anything. The Qi training stage is to lay the foundation. What is there to say? That's what he said, but you let a disciple who has never been exposed to cultivation to study on his own. It's a waste of time. What you learn from books is always shallow. You have to practice to realize this. What you realize is your own. But how to guide the Qi into the body, the senior brother should talk about it. No one has explained this. It is quite difficult. Didn't the master explain it to the senior brother twice back then? Hearing this, Daoshu curled his lips and said, "That's different. What's my talent? What's his talent? From the innate holy body to the fetus. To be honest, even if I don't say anything, with his talent, 1 or 2 years of Qi training is enough. As for breaking through the innate, I will naturally teach you well at that time. If you are worried, you can help me when you have time." Daoshu stepped forward and patted Joshi on the shoulder. "Well, I'll leave this matter to you." Joshi rolled his eyes. He has seen a hands-off shopkeeper, but he has never seen such a hands-off one. Thinking of the other party's talent, Joshi did not intend to sit idly by. Although he came with Daoshu to guard the Dao prison, he was also a Taoist monk, so he naturally hoped that the Dao sect would be strong. A genius that is rare in a million years, the future of Kebao Dao sect will be 10,000 years. Now that his senior brother is not paying attention, he, as a junior brother, cannot turn a blind eye. "Senior brother, rest assured to teach the junior brother, I will leave it to me." Joshi bowed his hands and took it hard. Daoshu gave Joshi a reassuring look. "I am very confident in you, but you should not put too much pressure on me. After all, he has just started practicing. He can draw Qi into the body within a week. Then it wouldn't be considered an insult to his talent." Joshi really wanted to roll his eyes at Daoshu. "Only you, senior brother, can draw Qi into the body within a week." Although the Qi refining ban is only the first and most basic ban on the road of cultivation, it is extremely difficult for practitioners to draw Qi into the body. Those with good talent can complete the process of drawing Qi into the body within half a month, which can be regarded as extremely high comprehension. Those with poor talent for 1 or 2 months may not be able to draw Qi into the body. The number of people who can do this within a week can be counted on one hand. Senior brother should have taken 10 days back then. Daoshu knew what Joshi wanted to say. He said the same thing. What kind of talent does he have? What kind of talent do I have? Can we compare? Okay, it's this sentence again. Joshi killed himself directly. He was able to complete the process of drawing Qi into the body within a week. If cultivation was that simple, he wouldn't have been stuck in the Rongdao competition all these years. He was disrespectful. Seeing Daoshu was about to leave, Joshi hurriedly stopped him. "Where are you going, senior brother? Go chat with some old friends. Our Taoism has produced a Taoist master with an innate holy body. We should tell them about it and share our joy." Daoshu smiled slightly. Joshi was speechless for a while. The old friend Daoshu was talking about was not someone else, but the evil demon who was captured and suppressed in Dao prison by the previous generations of Taoist priests many years ago. There were not many people in Dao prison, just him, Daoshu and several other fellow disciples. The others were in seclusion at the moment. Daoshu rarely went into seclusion, and when he had nothing to do, he would go to those old friends to chat and talk. After a few visits, they became familiar with each other. However, Daoshu, although they proposed to come across the black water from the Fang family, they had never thought of letting these people go. The 4 people of the Fang family were terrifyingly strong. If these people were released, the Fang family might be able to start the war between the good and evil by themselves, and they could also suppress the righteous world headed by the Taoist sect. The emergence of a disciple with a congenital holy body and a Taoist platform in the Taoist sect is a great thing for the Taoist sect, but it is not a good thing for those evil demons suppressed in the robber prison. He even doubted that Daoshu was going to share such things at this time. Those old friends might be able to scold his senior brother to death. Zhou Shi wanted to stop Daoshu, but Daoshu had already left before he could say anything. Looking at the empty house, Zhou Shi smiled bitterly and didn't say anything to Daoshu. Even if he was scolded, it was his senior brother's business. At most, he would not keep in touch with those people during this period of time. Let's go see the disciple that his senior brother brought back first. I'm afraid that I can only see this peerless monster with a congenital holy body and a Taoist platform once in my life. Zhou Shi muttered to himself after sighing. Zhou Shi restrained the smile on his face and walked out of the house. It was difficult to make a disciple with an innate holy body complete the process of drawing qi into the body within a week, but he really wanted to try. Even if it didn't work, he could at least guarantee it would take about a week. Just as his senior brother said, it's impossible for a peerless monster that only appears once in a million years to draw qi into the body for 10 days or half a month. That would be too bandit. After immersing yourself in the qi technique for a year, you finally discovered a problem. This qi body refining technique seems to have a limit. The existence of this limit makes you waste your years and still gain nothing. You continue to deduce in disbelief, but you, who have just entered the practice, don't seem to have the ability to create your own techniques. In the 4th year, you smiled helplessly and finally chose to give up. Creating your own technique is still too far away from you. I continued to invest my life in the qi technique. 5 years of investment didn't stir up any waves. He simply gave up. It seems that as long as the time spent in practice is long enough, it is not impossible to deduce higher-level techniques based on the existing techniques in the future. I opened my eyes and confirmed one thing. I originally thought that lifespan it can only be used to improve the proficiency of magic. Now it seems that lifespan has more functions than he imagined. Deducing new magic is one of them. I looked at the remaining 46 years of life. Based on the qi technique, there should be no problem in deducing higher-level qi training physical body techniques for more than 40 years. However, in this way, the pay and reward are completely unfair. He can find a higher-level qi technique and then use lifespan to infuse it. The saved lifespan can even make his body stronger. Moreover, he is still short of a magic suitable for combat. I only know one gukchi technique and qi technique. I am equivalent to a soldier wearing armor, holding a gun in my hand, but there are no bullets in the gun. The skills of taking a beating are full, but the counterattack skills are still blank. Before the old man left, he didn't even bother to give me a spell suitable for fighting. This master was too incompetent. I threw the 2 spells in my hand aside, feeling a little helpless. But at this time, he also knew that he couldn't blame Daoshu. People gave him 2 spells, thinking that he could at least practice for a year or 2. Who would have thought that he would be perfect in just a few breaths? If I hadn't been reluctant to invest in hunting apes, he could even deduce stronger spells based on the 2 spells. This kind of cheating ability, even Daoshu, a powerful man who entered the 4th realm of Taoism, would never have dreamed of. It's not difficult to understand that he didn't give me a spell suitable for fighting. But this is the 9th level of the Qi Training Sutra. This is not the first time I have practiced. He has tried many times in the Fang Mansion over the years, but only this time he successfully completed the Qi into the body, and even reached the 9th level of the Qi Training Sutra in a very short time. The body seemed to have broken through, and the true qi was flowing all over the body, which had completely exceeded the limit that the body could bear. In the past, he could always see words like, as strong as an ox, in some cultivation spells, but he didn't feel much. But now it's different. After reaching the 9th level of the Qi Training Sutra, I felt a whole new world, a sense of transcendence from ordinary people, the kind of using the spiritual energy of heaven and earth to polish oneself, rather than ordinary martial arts practice, just tapping the potential from the body. There is an essential difference. The potential of the human body is limited after all. No matter how much it is developed, there will be a limit. I finally understand why everyone wants to practice, not just for the pursuit of immortality, and the feeling of feeling and controlling power is indeed very wonderful. I know that it is not cost-effective to use the support and focus on 2 basic techniques next, so I got up and planned to find his cheap master. Even if I don't practice other techniques, it's good to find a technique suitable for combat to practice. However, he had just thrown the Gu Qi technique and the brittle body technique aside and was about to go out when he found a middle-aged man who looked about the same age as Daoshu standing at the door of the house. He could appear in Daoyu so freely. If nothing unexpected happened, it should be the responsibility of the Taoist sect. I was just stunned for a moment, then I bowed and asked, Senior, my name is Zhou Shi, Senior Brother Daoshu, you call me uncle. That is Zhou Shi, who walked into the house with a smile, Zhou Shi Daoshu, Junior Brother. I was a little curious. According to what he knew about the Taoist practice, once you reach the 4th level of entering the Tao, you will automatically become a heavenly master and take a Taoist surname and name. Why did this Uncle Zhou Shi, who is Daoshu's junior fellow, introduce his real name? Zhou Shi seemed to see what I was thinking and smiled slightly. The Taoist regulations state that to enter the Tianxi mansion, one must practice Taoism. I am just Rong Daojin, so naturally I do not have the qualifications to enter the Tianxi mansion. I smiled awkwardly. Uncle Master, it's okay. Zhou Shi raised his hand and did not blame me for this. I recovered and asked, I wonder why Uncle Master came to see me. I heard from my senior brother that he brought back a disciple with a congenital holy body and a Taoist fetus. I was curious, so I came to see him. He is indeed a handsome man. Uncle Master, please praise me. I immediately responded modestly. Zhou Shi smiled and said, also, I was entrusted by my senior brother to explain to you some basic knowledge related to practice. Is there anything you don't understand? If my senior brother is here, you can ask him. Senior brother Daoshu has a strong cultivation base. He may not understand how to teach disciples, but his understanding of practice is beyond my reach. But if you can't find anyone else, you can ask me. Except for special circumstances, I am usually in Daoyu. I hurriedly thanked him. Thank you, Uncle Master. We are all Taoist monks. Why are you being polite? Zhou Shi came to sit aside. Senior brother Daoshu told me that you have never been exposed to practice before. No, I shook my head. Zhou Shi glanced at the Jiyu Qi Shu and Kui Ti Shu that I casually threw on the table. Chen Sheng said, although Jiyu Qi Shu and Kui Ti Shu are only the most basic spells, these two spells are the only way to lay a solid foundation on the road of cultivation. No matter how good your talent is, if you want to go further, laying a solid foundation is the key. It's like building a house. If the foundation is not solid, how can you build a towering building? You have just started to practice, so you may not understand some things. High talent does not mean that you must practice those advanced spells. To put it bluntly, if I really give you a book of advanced spells, let alone practice, you may not even understand the contents. Brother Daoshu gave you Jiyu Qi Shu and Kui Ti Shu, in fact, considering your current situation. Hearing this, I glanced at the two spells that he casually threw on the table, and instantly understood that this Uncle Zhou Shi in front of me probably thought that he was very self-righteous, so he looked down on these basic spells. I smiled stiffly and was about to explain, but Zhou Shi didn't expect. At this moment, he asked, have you read Jiyu Qi Shu? I nodded truthfully. It's good enough if you have read it. What do you think? I thought about it. It's a bit simple. Zhou Shi immediately showed an expression of, as expected, I didn't say anything. But he didn't say anything. He's young, so he can understand. If he had such talent when he was young, Zhou Shi felt that he should say something. He still had to talk about Jiyu Qi Shu. Although it's simple, the introduction of qi into the body mentioned in it is not as simple as you think. Even Brother Daoshu, it took our master to explain it twice before he could successfully complete the introduction of qi into the body within 10 days. It's impossible for ordinary people to do it without a month. Although you have a physique that is rare in 100 years, the introduction of qi into the body is not only related to physique, but also to comprehension. I came to you this time to guide you to complete the introduction of qi into the body, so as to save time for cultivation. Besides, my brother has brought you back. If your cultivation progress is not as good as other new disciples, not only you will lose face, but we will also be ashamed to face the ancestors of the Taoist painting. My face stiffened a little when I heard the words. Introduction of qi into the body. It's the feeling of qi generated in the body. Does this thing take so long? He thought about it and it seemed like he had completed the process of drawing qi into the body in less than a blink of an eye. What's this? Zhou Shi called me and I looked a little strange. Ba and nodded and breathed a sigh of relief. Although the young man was a little hot-tempered, fortunately he could still listen to his words. In this way, he didn't have to explain too much. Zhou Shi also accepted apprentices and knew that teaching apprentices was a very complicated matter. Being a master is the same as being a father. They all want their children to be successful. If they meet a well-behaved and sensible one, even if he is a little clumsy, as long as they are patient when teaching, there will be no big problem. What they are afraid of are some talented but unruly and self-righteous apprentices. Such apprentices often ignore the importance of diligence and humility because of their outstanding abilities. They are shocked in one ear and out the other for the master's teachings. It not only increases the difficulty of teaching, but also may limit their long-term development. Zhou Shi knows this truth very well. Seeing that I can accept his opinions with an open mind, he is naturally relieved. Since you have also read Jiyu Qi Shu, I will not talk too much about the content in it. You should try to draw qi into the body according to the Ji Qi Shu. Zhou Shi pointed to the Ji Qi Shu that I discarded on the table and continued. This way I can know where your problem is and point it out in time. You are very talented, but you must not underestimate the difficulty of drawing qi into the body. With your qualifications, if you are more diligent, you may really be able to complete the drawing of qi into the body within a week. Work hard. If you can complete the drawing of qi into the body within a week, you can make a request. As long as it is within my ability, my uncle will definitely not refuse. My face was stiff. At this moment, he suddenly understood how great his Ji Qi Shu was with the help of receiving Yuan Guanju. With his talent, under the guidance of a monk Rong Daojin, he can complete the drawing of qi into the body within a week. It can be said that there are only a handful of people who can complete it in just 1 or 2 breaths. I'm afraid no one dares to dream such a dream. Did you suddenly feel pressured? Zhou Shi said again. In fact, there is no need to have too much pressure. The Tao sect has been established for tens of thousands of years, and there are only a handful of cultivators who can complete the process of drawing qi into the body within a week. Even your master, that is, my senior brother Daoshi, took 10 days back then. As for you, just make sure you can do it within 10 days. At least not slower than my senior brother. You won't be embarrassed because of this, and I can also get the job done. Speaking of which, it took me nearly half a month back then. I take it more and more seriously. It is enough to let a Rong Daojin cultivator say such a thing, which is enough to show how difficult it is to draw qi into the body. Zhou Shi continued, don't look at me. I am only 4 or 5 days behind your master. But these 4 or 5 years are enough to show many problems, not only talent, but also understanding. There is a gap. This gap may not be felt deeply in the qi training realm, but once it reaches the innate, it will become more and more obvious, just like you now. Your master has already tried to enter the 4th realm of cultivators more than 100 years ago, while I am still in the Rong Dao realm. This is the gap. Speaking of this, Zhou Shi also looked serious. Cultivation is not as difficult as you think. It's so simple. I nodded. As far as this is concerned, he has a deep understanding. Before he obtained the innate holy body, he tried every possible way and practiced countless techniques. Even his grandfather personally took action, but he still couldn't complete the process of drawing qi into the body. The difference in talent may not be seen at ordinary times, but once you practice, as time goes by, the level of talent can be easily seen from the cultivation. I fell into deep thought. Zhou Shi suddenly patted him on the shoulder. Okay, don't think too much. I said these things not to put pressure on you, but I hope you know the importance of laying a good foundation. According to the meditation recorded in the Ji Qi technique, I scratched my head. Uncle, I have a doubt in my heart. You said that you can break through the innate from the qi training realm. Are there any restrictions? You have read all of Ji Qi Shu, right? Zhou Shi smiled. Ji Qi Shu is just a basic technique, which is completely used to lay the foundation for cultivators. The same is true for the qi training realm. As the first realm on the road of cultivation, it also lays the foundation for cultivators. If you want to break through the innate, you have to mention what is innate. Before a person is born, he is innate. After birth, as the food is supplemented with miscellaneous grains, the body will quickly change from innate to acquired. The innate realm is to make the body change from acquired to innate again. Such a process. And not only that, after the body is transformed into innate, it is necessary to compress the true qi in the body and condense the exudant to break through the innate realm. This is why there is a saying of the 3 innate realms. The 3 innate realms are the exudant realm, the Shidan realm, and the Jingdan realm. After reaching the Jingdan realm, the Dan cracks and becomes yin, and then you can step into the 3rd realm, the yin transformation realm. Ji Qi Shu did not mention how to compress the true qi in the body and how to condense the exudant. Ji Qi Shu alone naturally cannot break through the innate. I nodded and finally figured out why I still got nothing after spoiling so many beast sources. This is the limitation of Ji Qi Shu itself. I want to break this limitation. Or you can practice a deeper level of magic, then on the basis of the Ji Qi technique, you can deduce a magic that can condense the Shu Dan. But it is obvious that the latter requires more beast sources. Even the beast sources he has left for more than 200 years may not be able to deduce a very advanced magic. I suddenly felt fortunate that I made a particularly right decision and did not foolishly indulge the beast source to deduce a higher level of magic. Thinking of this, I looked up at Zhou Shi and said embarrassedly, Uncle, do you have a magic that can make people break through the innate? Why are you asking this? Curious Zhou Shi shook his head and suddenly became serious. The most taboo in cultivation is to be too ambitious. You haven't even completed the introduction of qi into the body, but you have already started to think about the innate. This is a typical case of putting the cart before the horse. People who practice should never do this. My nephew knew that I took a breath. However, my nephew wanted that kind of innate method not just to understand it, but my nephew had already completed the introduction of Qi into the body and even broke through to the 9th level of the Qi refining mirror. It was only because of the lack of the innate method that he could not break through the innate. Before, my nephew didn't know much about cultivation. I thought there was some kind of restriction, but after my uncle explained it, I realized that it was actually a problem with the technique. The point of genius. I didn't think about hiding anything. I wanted to improve my cultivation as quickly as possible. Showing my talent is the best choice. He is now a disciple of Taoism, and his teacher is the previous assistant master of Tianxi Mansion. His cultivation is unparalleled. In this case, he still concealed his cultivation and his talent. What's the difference between hiding his brain and hiding his cultivation? If he really wants to hide his cultivation, he can only use the instructor to deduce and break through the innate technique. It's a waste of instructors. Let the instructor break through without scolding. Only by showing his peerless talent can he go faster and further on the road of cultivation. So I admitted it directly. Zhou Shi was stunned for a moment.